Welcome to the Tuesday edition of One's World, and as promised, I'm going to do some cooking today. And as you can see from this image, I'm going to be making a Chinese master stock, or sometimes called master sauce. It's a stock that is made mostly in the eastern parts of China, but it's found pretty much everywhere if you look, and also in Southeast Asia as it happens. And it's a stock that is kept continuously day after day after day, and is used primarily for poaching meats. Chicken, duck, goose are the main ones, but pork and beef as well. And I'm going to get into how to make it, and then all the various uses that you can make of it, just like an old-fashioned stock pot, European stock pot. I've mentioned before, I sometimes keep a stock pot, various bits of bones and cast-off vegetables and so forth that go in, and then I use it to make soups and stews. Well, the Chinese version is a lot more complicated, but it's got the same underlying idea. That is, you've got a basic broth or stock that you keep adding to day after day after day, and it gets richer and richer and more complex as you go. So let's get into it. We can begin here with my master stock in its beginning stages. I've got a little bit of chicken broth and water, Chinese rice wine, soy sauce, cinnamon, garlic, onions, leeks, cloves, star anise, the usual panoply of Chinese ingredients, a little bit of sugar, some hot peppers, because you want to have hot, that is spicy hot, sweet, sour, salty, the bare minimum. That means you're going to have some kind of soy sauce in there for the salty, and so on. You just play by ear, really. Every master chef has a master stock in the regions of Canton and Fujian, and they don't necessarily keep the ingredient list secret, but they keep adding all the time. They keep cooking meats in the stock all the time, and they keep adding vegetables and various things all the time. So the stock is constantly evolving. It's getting more complex. And there are legends that some master stocks have been around for 100 years or more. Probably not true. But you can keep the master stock for a long time as long as you do the same thing that you do with a standard stock. That is, you must refrigerate it overnight, and you must boil it once a day to make sure you get rid of pathogens. You must also skim it once a day. And I've mentioned with a regular stock pot, there does come a time when something goes wrong and you have to pitch out and start again. It's a very sad day, but that's the case. So here's my beginning point with all of those ingredients starting, and I'm going to start the extra complexity by adding some old mushrooms that I didn't particularly want to use for regular cooking, and then we're going to move on and I'll show you poaching a chicken. So here's the chicken in the pot. It is more or less immersed in the stock. It floats a little bit, but with the lid on, then everything all marinates down together. So simmer the chicken for about 40 minutes, not much longer, because by that time it will have been cooked all the way through. And the flavors of the master sauce will permeate the meat, and as an exchange, some of the juices from the chicken will permeate the sauce, and so you get a double blessing there. Take the chicken out, and then you can do all manner of things. The first thing I did here was just to take a little bit of the master sauce and thicken it up a little bit, toast some bread, and then put some chicken pieces on the bread and put the sauce over the top. Very straightforward. Next I'm going to make this dish, which is mostly stir-fried vegetables, baby bok choy, various Asian mushrooms, a few potatoes and chicken, and seasoned with the master sauce. So I've got the pan on high heat. I'm going to add some potatoes once the oil is hot. Looks like it's shimmering nicely. I'm going to put in the potatoes now. Yeah, they're all looking good. I want to give them a little bit of color. Potatoes take a fair amount of time to cook, and they will cook in the sauce, but I want to pre-cook them a little bit, just blanch them in oil. And now I'm going to add bok choy. This is baby bok choy with the tough stems cut off. A nice brown. Let that stir fry for a little bit and we'll come back. So things are looking pretty good now. I'm going to add some peppers, and I'm also going to add some of the master sauce. And I'm going to reduce that a little bit, and the dish will be ready. I could add some mushrooms. I'll have to think about that. Let this reduce for a little while and contemplate the mushroom issue. Well, you can see that I decided that mushrooms would work. Just going to give this a little stir as it reduces. And we're ready to serve. Now, as I always do, I'm just going to take a little taste. Really delicious. Ready to go. At this point, you can see I've added a little bit of the chicken that was cooked in the master sauce, and I'm just going to heat everything up a little bit and serve it over rice. You can see it's nice and juicy, and the master sauce has rendered down and coated the vegetables. Chicken is mostly already flavored with the master sauce, but just adding a little more richness here, and then I'm going to be ready to serve. All right, so last chance for this video for a recipe. I've got some rice noodles, and you can see my master stock is on the boil. I'm going to make some noodles in the stock, and then I'm going to serve them with just a little bit of the stock, not a lot. And I could also add a few mushrooms or some chicken or something like that, anything you want, but I actually like just plain noodles in broth. That's a very old favorite of mine. So that's the last hurrah. I'll show you the finished product when we're done. So here are the rice noodles merrily boiling away in the master stock. They don't take very long. Just a few minutes, and then when they are cooked to my taste, which is al dente, which is not really very Chinese. Chinese tend to cook them more than I do. Take them out of the stock and place them in a bowl with just a tiny bit of the stock with it. I mean, you can actually drown them in it if you like, but that's noodles in broth. Very, very common throughout Asia, and it's a comfort food of mine for many, many years. Comes in many different varieties. Noodles in broth, I've just added a little garnish of leek greens here, and ready to yum it down. Meanwhile, tell your friends about this channel, tell them, and remember yourself to like, subscribe, and I will see you on Friday with some more philosophy of education.